You know what? I think enough time has passed. Let's talk about the Mega Kalos Trio. Yeah, let's jump into the Mega Evolutions for Chesnaught, Greninja, and Delphox. Hey, Editing Shucko here. Real quick, I didn't realize this video was going to turn out as long as it actually was, so we're just going to hit you with the pre-recorded partner segment now, and then we're going to dive right into those Mega Kalos starters. So take it away, me. You wouldn't reach into a hot oven barehanded, right? Nor would you go barreling down the highway without a seatbelt, or even switching in a barrel into an unprotected thunder. So why are you surfing the web without using a VPN? Specifically, NordVPN, for that matter, today's partner. Look, phishing scams have become a lot more prevalent in recent history, and people are looking to breach your online security and make off with your data for a profit, which certainly ain't convenient for you, and while it might be convenient for them, it isn't exactly the best way to make a profit. So, protect yourself with NordVPN. By connecting to their servers, you naturally encrypt your ISP, automatically strengthening your online security. And with Nord's built-in ad blocker, you don't have to worry about those pesky pop-up ads that could be loaded with malware. And that's just the bare minimum of what Nord has to offer. With their Threat Protection Pro, Nord flags websites that are a little bit sus and gives you the option to turn away from that dark digital alleyway before you make a terrible mistake. And on top of that, they also have the Dark Web Monitor, where they scour the internet for those in real life hideouts of those Team Rocket members looking to profit off of your data. And if Nord does happen to find anything on the dark web, it will alert you so that you can take appropriate action. Now that sounds pretty convenient if you ask me. And if you're thinking the same thing as I am, which is not pizza by the way, good news. I have a discount code. Use code SHUCKO over at NordVPN to get a 70% discount on a 2-year plan. And what does that also entail? Well, it allows you to protect up to 10 different devices at once, so you don't have to choose between protecting your phone or your laptop. Protect them both while having some room to spare. And on the more profound fundamental level, you also don't have to worry about choosing between which family members are going to be protected online and which ones aren't. You can protect them all, unless there's about 40 of you. That unfortunately, I don't really know what to tell you at that point. But getting back on track, Nord also has a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you try them out and you don't like it, you can automatically just submit for a refund there within 30 days of purchase, which honestly, that sounds pretty good if you ask me. So, use NordVPN to protect yourself and use my link, Shucko, over at NordVPN for that sweet 70% discount on a 2-year plan. So, what are you waiting for? Once the video is done, head over to nordvpn.com/shucko and check out their options. Thank you to Nord for partnering with me for today's video. And now, let's get back to the Pokemon. Now, since the Megastones for these 3 Pokemon are obtainable as rewards through the online ranked ladder system, I figured it'd be kind of fun to talk about them in the order that they're going to be out and available in. Greninja came out in the first season. We're currently in the second season, which means Delphox is currently obtainable, and Chesnaught is going to be the obtainable reward for the third season. So we're going to talk about them in that particular order, and what we're going to look at is their stats and their increase from their base forms, and speculate what their abilities might be once Pokémon Champions goes live, because currently right now in ZA there's no abilities in that game, so we don't know what any of the new abilities of the Pokemon are going to be as far as these new mega forms go, which I've touched on in previous videos. But in case this is the first video of mine that you're seeing, that's kind of where we're going with this. We're talking a little bit about ZA, but also for Pokemon Champions going further down the road. And plus, you know, Pokemon ZA did give some Pokemon some new moves that they didn't previously have access to, which might be fun to see them combined with tools they've had in previous generations as well. So starting off with Greninja here, we see a nice little glow up as far as its stats go. we jump up from 95 to 125, 103 to 133, and 122 to 142. Mega Greninja speed ties Dragapult, which is awesome. Dragapult is a Pokemon that has been extremely fast and extremely prominent in previous formats that haven't really showed restricted legendaries. I mean, it was pretty big in the Dynamax era that it debuted in with that nice 142 speed, and seeing Mega Greninja hit that speed stat is going to be nice as well, because we have a nice benchmark to compare it to as far as speed goes. And also, Greninja got a little bit of a boost to its defense and its special defense as well, because we see 30 points into both attacks, 20 into its speed. That leaves 10 left over. Actually leaves 20 left over, but that leaves 10 left over for both of those stats. So we see it go up to 77 from 67, and then 81 from 71, which is really nice for Mega Greninja. Now, another interesting thing that is notable is Mega Greninja and Base Greninja gained access to Nasty Plot, which Nasty Plot increases the special attack stat by 2 stages. And you know what else is fun? Regular Greninja already had access to Swords Dance, so there you go. You can really choose which of your 2 attack stats you want to increase, whether it be your physical attack at 125 or your special attack at 133. There's not that many points base number-wise. That makes a huge difference. And let's just change this over so that we have 31 IVs into the attack stat, because Showdown always wants to default my set to 0 attack for whatever reason. But anyways, without any investment, Mega Greninja, without a beneficial nature as well, is sitting at 145 attack and 153 special attack, which is really nice, and it's sitting at 162 speed. So you can choose to go either a setup sweeper route. You could just invest into either one of your 2 attacks, drop the setup move, and just rely on your heavy speed as well. And, you know, you can kind of go all over the place with this. I feel like a Follow Me Pokemon is going to be really nice next to Greninja. If you're going to opt for either Nasty Plot or Swords Dance, you can get that nice boost to either of your attacks, and then you can go for some big damage with either physical or special moves. Greninja gets some pretty decent things as well. And also, one of the new tools that it got access to in Legend ZA is Psyshock, which Greninja already had a little bit of psychic coverage to begin with extra sensory, but getting access to Psyshock is nice, because now if you're running a special attacking Greninja and you're worried about specially defensive walls, you can use Psyshock and then hit them on the physical defensive side instead. So that's a relatively nice thing right there. Now, if we want to take out Nasty Plot and Sword Stance, just to kind of show off what Greninja has as far as some moves go, let's take a look at the physical side. And now this is reflective based off of the Scarlet and Violet moveset versus the ZA. So some things might not necessarily pop up right away, like Psyshock, for instance, but I think that's okay, because I think there's a little bit less moves in ZA compared to Scarlet and Violet. For example, Body Press. Yeah, which we're going to be talking about that later on, don't get me wrong. It's not relevant to Greninja by any means, but just for an example to throw off the top of my head. So as far as some physical moves here go for Greninja, we get Acrobatics, which honestly, on a non-mega set, that would be okay, because, I mean, Acrobatics doubles in power if the user doesn't have an item, and unfortunately, you do have to hold a Mega Stone to become a Mega Pokemon, so not really going to help us out the greatest, but, you know, Brick Break's not a bad idea here. You got a little bit of physical fighting coverage right there. You have the ability to break screens. You have Facade, which, if you are running Swords Dance, that's not bad, because if you do get burned or paralyzed or poisoned, I mean, hey, Sneasel Dire Claw situation. You have the Facade. You don't have to worry about burn reducing your attack output, because Facade will ignore that. And it'll also double in power. So that's fun. So your other physical attacks would still be weakened because of of that. But I mean, Facade will double itself in power, so you don't have to worry too much about that. You have Gunk Shot, which is some great poison type coverage right there, base 120 poison type damage. You got Ice Punch, so some nice ice coverage to hit grass types. You have it to hit some flying types as well. You have Liquidation for some good physical stab water damage right there with a base 85 power and a 20% chance to lower the target's defense. You got Low Kick, which is some war fighting type coverage right there. And unlike Brick Break, Low Kick will go up in power the heavier the opponent is. So, I mean, you could potentially have a far more potent fighting type attack in Low Kick than Brick Break. Whereas Brick Break is that natural, consistent base 75 power. Low Kick has the potential to go up even higher based off the target's weight. Alternatively, it can get a little bit weaker, but a lot of the big Pokemon that you would want to be going for a Low Kick are typically heavy Pokemon to begin with. A lot of Steel type Pokemon tend to be heavy. A lot of Rock type Pokemon tend to be heavy. Any Rock type that's a dual typing that's resistant to water, they certainly wouldn't love a Low Kick. So you do have that. You have Night Slash on the physical dark side. So you have that base 70 power with a boosted crit ratio. You have Rock Slide, you have Quick Attack. So Rock Slide, you got some spread damage right there with 30% chance to make something flinch, which honestly, with that new and improved base 142 speed, which would max out at 213 with a beneficial nature, that's great to make something potentially flinch. You have Quick Attack and Shadow Sneak, so you have a little bit of Ghost or Normal type priority, which with a Sword Stance, that could be really scary. You have Trailblaze to make yourself go even faster if you want. You have U-Turn, which can pivot you out. You got Waterfall as an alternative to Liquidation for some stab water type damage. Under what Smogon deems as usually useless, you have Aerial Ace and Bounce, which, I mean, Bounce gives you a little bit of pseudo invulnerability. I don't really love the 85 accuracy for the 85 power, but I mean, you got 30% chance to make something get paralyzed, which is also bad. Or not bad is what I meant to say. Yeah. Paralyzing something is not bad in Pokemon. Now, in real life, yes, obviously that's bad. But, my blunder right there. Aerial Ace is not too shabby because it's base 60 power and it doesn't check accuracy. If Greninja gets an ability that boosts up its damage output, I mean, that might not be a bad idea. So, there's certainly that. You have Dig, which is 80 ground base power and 100% accuracy, and similar to Bounce, it gives you that pseudo invulnerability. We have a Rock Tomb for some single target speed control, and then we have Upper Hand, which can be great for getting around Fake-Out Pokemon. Now, Mega Greninja and regular Greninja are both Water Dark, so they do have to worry about Fake-Out, but I mean, Upper Hand is a +3 priority move, so it's going to be on the same priority wavelength as Fake-Out, but these Pokemon are so fast to begin with. Not a whole lot of Fake-Out Pokemon are going to naturally outspeed them, so they can go for that Upper Hand and actually make the Fake-Out mon flinch instead. So that could be really nice, especially if you're worried about the Fake-Out going into a partner Pokemon in a double battle next to Greninja. So you certainly have that as far as the physical moves go. Now let's take a look at the special moves and kind of just go over what Greninja has, and then this way too, you can kind of have a rough idea of what you have to work with for your damage output. So you've got Blizzard right out of the gate. If you have Snow/Hail, because we don't really know how it's going to work too, if Hail is going to return, whereas Scarlet and Violet reworked Hail into Snowscape, like, I mean, we could hypothetically see both, which would be interesting, but either way, Blizzard would bypass accuracy in either condition, so that could be relatively fun. Now, chances are it's probably just going to return as Snow, but I mean, hey, if we see Hail as well, I mean, you have the Blizzard, you could do some big damage. So yeah, you do have that base 110 move that can bypass accuracy in the appropriate weather. You have Chilling Water, which is a weaker move, but it's a guaranteed attack drop, so it's kind of nice because you can break a Focus Sash while potentially lowering something's attack stat, which, I mean, if you get a physical setup sweeper that's not holding a Clear Amulet, like, getting that attack drop could be relatively nice to offset them, especially if you find out they're not clear amulet by having an intimidate mod already switch in and lower something's attack. That could be relatively nice. So yeah, you have that. You got Dark Pulse for some nice reliable dark type special coverage. You got Extra Sensory, which I mentioned, which both Dark Pulse and Extra Sensory can both potentially make something flinch, which is going to be relatively nice with that really high speed stat right there on the Greninja. You have Grass Knot for some grass type coverage, and similar to Low Kick, it's based off of the target's weight, so I mean you can do a lot of damage with Grass Knot potentially. If you just want to go for raw damage, you got the Hydro Pump with 110 power, 80 accuracy. You got Ice Beam for some nice, reliable, consistent, single target base 90 power. You got Sludge Wave to hit the entire field, so if you have a Steel type Pokemon next to Mega Greninja, I mean, you don't have to worry about hitting yourself. You can hit the entire field, potentially poison the opponent's Mons with that 10% chance. You get 95 power, which combining Sludge Wave with Nasty Plot could be really scary for a lot of Fairy type Pokemon that might think they're coming in to potentially check Mega Greninja. You have Surf, which could be a nice for some water type damage to flood the entire field, similar to Sludge Wave. You have Water Shuriken, Greninja's signature move, which don't let that base 15 power fool you. This is a multi-striking move that also has the ability to have boosted priority. It's +1 priority right there, and it's a multi-striking move, so it's hitting a minimum of 2 times. So really, you got base 30. If you get lucky, you get 3 hits. You got 45, you get the 4th hit, you get 60. Now, I'm not 100% sure how well Water Shuriken would work on Mega Greninja, since it can't hold the loaded dice, but if Mega Greninja gets Skill Link, which guarantees all multi-striking moves hit the maximum number of times, that could be wild. Imagine you have that 75 priority Water Shuriken with Skill Link hitting all 5 times after a Nasty Plot setup. Yeah, that could be really nice if Greninja gets Skill Link as its potential ability when it Mega Evolves. I think that could be really cool. And of course, it gets Weather Ball. Yeah, a lot of Pokemon get Weather Ball now, which is still wild. As far as some other moves go, you could just absolutely obliterate something with Hydro Cannon at the cost of having Greninja not be able to move, which I don't really like the idea of that. I mean, similarly enough, you could do the same thing with Hyper Beam. Now, some nice little support right here is Icy Wind, so you can have a little bit of speed control. It's a spread move, and the nice thing too is it's an ice type move, so it's not like there's any Pokemon that are outright immune to ice type attacks as far as abilities go right now. So you can have that spread move right there. You could potentially break some sashes. You can get some speed lowered into the target, and because Greninja is so blisteringly fast, Greninja can enable its partner Pokemon to move a little bit quicker in comparison to the opponents by lowering their speed, so that is going to be a nice thing. And then really, we don't really have a whole lot more really that's kind of notable for the remainder of the moves except for Water Pledge, because I mean, having Water Pledge, and this is extremely niche, but having Water Pledge pair up with Fire Pledge or Grass Pledge coming off such a fast Pokemon could be nice. I mean, look at Sceptile, for example, or Inteleon. They're both really fast Pokemon. They get their Pledge move off, and then their much slower partner Pokemon can immediately move, because that's how the Pledge moves work. And they also combine, so like, you could realistically get the Swamp or the Rainbow effects relatively easily with Greninja's 142 base speed stat. As I mentioned, this will cap out at 213 speed, so having the Swamp just lower the opponent's speed for 3 to 4 turns, that's really nice, because I'm pretty sure it brings them down to about 25% of their max speed. That's really awesome. And then with the Rainbow effect, it naturally gives you a Serene Grace effect where it doubles the secondary effects of moves. So yeah, if you have some moves here that are really consistent with having high RNG for their effects activating, and then just doubling that with the Rainbow effect, that could be relatively handy. And then that way too, like for example, I know it's not the strongest hitting move, but Charge Beam, for example. Charge Beam is, I think it's like 70% chance to raise your special attack. So, I mean, that would, if having that double, that would be a guaranteed special attack boost with some electric coverage, like if something were to switch in. So, I mean, yeah, you could probably have something like that. Air Slash is probably the best example because it's 30% chance to make the target flinch. Same with Rock Slide. Rock Slide would also have its flinch odds doubled. I mean, if you have a para flinch combination in the rainbow effect going, that could be relatively scary. So you could have something like that. And the other thing too is, I did mention that you could run either Swords Dance or Nasty Plot on this thing, but maybe if you just want to have a defensive hindering nature to get that speed, I mean, you could do like Hasty or Naive, max out your speed, and maybe you want to have high special attack damage output and maybe just have an extra point into your attack and do something like, say, Water Pledge just so that it does as much damage as possible. Have that Rock Slide just to make something flinch. Maybe go Sludge Wave or Dark Pulse. You know what? We'll throw on the Sludge Wave just for the lulz. We'll have that there. We'll have Protect right here. So you could have some rock, poison, and water damage. Sludge Wave can hit everything on the field. So who knows? Maybe that partner Pokemon next to Greninja is a Focus Sash Blaziken with Fire Pledge, and then it's just relying on its speed boost. You click Protect, you get that guaranteed speed boost. Sludge Wave, and now Blaziken can move faster than Greninja, and you just have a good time. I don't know. I'm just kind of theory crafting right now. Maybe you don't want to do like a mixed set. Maybe you just want to go purely special attacking. Maybe what you do here, maybe you do have that maybe you do have Surf for some big damage. Maybe you have that Nasty Plot. Maybe you go for Dark Pulse so that you're not necessarily wide guard fodder, and then this way too you can raise up your special attack. You can do some big damage with the Surf so that you hit the entire field. Maybe you have a Water Absorb Pokemon next to Greninja so that they're healing up, or maybe a Storm Drain Pokemon so that they're getting a nice relatively nice boost. And then Greninja can also go for Dark Pulse. And as far as Storm Drain Pokemon go, like if we were to look at this, well, we get Gastrodon, which is a relatively nice partner Pokemon for partners that don't necessarily want to eat those water type attacks with Storm Drain. Interestingly enough, I mean, Scarf Tatsugiri could be hilarious by getting a special attack boost, and then it just goes for its own big water type attack, like say Muddy Water. Maybe it goes for a Draco Meteor just to kind of like nail something. Maybe it switches in on a turn. Greninja goes for Surf, gets that Storm Drain boost, and then just goes for a massive hit, switches out. Greninja changes up its moves. Maybe something like that. And then, I mean, we get Lumineon, which don't run Lumineon, but I mean, hypothetically, I mean, you could do something like that. Actually, do you get Quiver Dance? No, you don't get Quiver Dance. If this thing got Quiver Dance, I mean, that could be kind of funny, but it doesn't. But yeah, as far as your Storm Drain Mons go, I mean, you could have something kind of funny as far as that works out. Or, you know, maybe you just decide, instead of going Surf, you go Hydro Pump. And now what you could do, maybe you get a Gravity Mon up, like maybe say Meowstic. Meowstic gets access to Prankster and Gravity, so maybe Greninja's partner. Oh, actually, let's set the stage right here. Let's get an Amoonguss right here first. We'll put on that Regenerator. We'll get that Rage Powder. So maybe what you do, you get Greninja and Amoonguss on the field. Amoonguss goes for the Rage Powder. Maybe there's nothing with Safety Goggles. Greninja hits up that Nasty Plot. Maybe Amoonguss goes down, or maybe Greninja clicks Protect. Either way, you get Amoonguss out, you get Meowstic on the field. Now, Meowstic with its Gravity and Prankster is going to move before Greninja, so long as it's not going for Water Shuriken. You set up the Gravity. Everything is at 1.67 times accuracy. There's also no ground immunities as well, so I mean, who knows, maybe you have something in the back with Earthquake that's just waiting to go as a late game sweeper. You get that Gravity up, and now Greninja's just coming in and hitting them with a +2 185 special attack Hydro Pump. Yeah, maybe that's what happens. You get that gravity up, you get the Greninja with the Hydro Pump, and you just have some fun just absolutely obliterating something with Greninja's built-in fire hydrant abilities with that Hydro Pump. Yeah, that could be funny. As far as water type moves go too, like maybe in case you don't want to play the gravity and the 80 accuracy dance because you might not necessarily get gravity up or gravity will wear off. Maybe as far as some water type attacks go, maybe you decide you do want to run that water shuriken instead. Well, if you do get the +2, you are still guaranteed to hit twice with water shuriken, and anything else at that point you might as well just consider bonus. Like, you might be able to do some decent damage to things, especially if they're not specially defensive to begin with. And I mean, even just being able to survive a hit wouldn't be the end of the world. And then get that water shuriken off just to finish them off. I mean, yeah, maybe somehow Greninja survives a hit because it's not necessarily the bulkiest Pokemon out there. I mean, that might be Chesnaught in this video, but Greninja's not the bulkiest Pokemon out there. Maybe somehow it survives a hit, and then it can just finish off a weakened opponent, whether it be it comes in and revenge kills with Water Shuriken with that priority, or it just goes for damage, somehow takes a hit, maybe it's got a screen working in its favor, and then it just finishes them off with Water Shuriken. Maybe that works out. Just out of curiosity, as far as status moves go, I mean, you do get Haze as well. I mean, Haze can also clear the thing. But what I was thinking too was, yeah, you could even potentially gamble on an Endure to survive at 1 HP and then go for the Water Shuriken. That was kind of why I want to pull up the status moves right there. But yeah, anyways, as far as Mega Greninja goes, as far as some abilities I'd like to see, maybe if we see Protean come back and get unnerfed so that it can just kind of switch up, and rather than just changing the type to the first move and only the first move that it uses upon switching, maybe we get Protean back to the way it was. I mean, that could be a nice ability to have on Mega Greninja. Maybe Technician might be good, and then that could synergize with Water Shuriken and other base 60 and lower powered moves. Maybe adaptability to double its stab benefits. So maybe something like that. I feel like those would be some decent abilities to maybe see on Mega Greninja. I mean, Shed Skin could be a nice ability on it as well, and then that way too, I mean, it doesn't have to worry about paralysis. Like, if it has Shed Skin, it might just undo the paralysis and naturally heal itself. So that could be relatively nice. And I don't think they'll give it Battle Bond. I really don't think Mega Greninja will get it. But I mean, whereas Battle Bond got reworked in Scarlet and Violet to raise the attack, special attack, and speed by one stage, once per battle. And based off of the main website for Legend ZA with the little blurb they put for Mega Greninja, basically saying this ninja frog decided to forego its stealth and it goes right out into the open. Maybe that's potentially where that could go, but I don't necessarily see it happening. But I mean, that would be wild. Imagine Ash Greninja gets blasted away into oblivion, that form is no longer a thing, and then they just give the ability to Mega Greninja. Yeah, maybe that could be a thing, but anyways, I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are on Mega Greninja, and let's move on to Mega Delphox. Okay, Delphox got a really nice glow up in terms of its stats. Now, natural base Delphox, its worst stat is its physical attack. And this one I feel like is going to be a little bit quicker than Mega Greninja, because Mega Greninja, whereas it does have the potential to go either physical or special, Delphox is going to be diving headfirst into that special attack stat with its brand new upgraded 159 base special attack. On top of that, it's got a base 134 speed stat and a 125 special defense. Its physical defense and physical attack do not change. They stay at 69 and 72. And then we just see all of the special stats go up as far as the Mega Form goes, which honestly, I am more than A-okay with this. I think Mega Delphox has the potential to do a lot of damage as a special sweeper, whether it be with Tailwind support, an Icy Wind drop into an opponent, or even Thunder Wave off of a Prankstermon, just something to slow down the target's speed stat or to raise Delphox's speed, and then Delphox can do some massive damage. With base 159 special attack and max investment, this thing hits 211 on a neutral nature. Now that should be pretty notable because that's a right around where a base 140 caps out with a beneficial nature. So yeah, that's relatively nice. And then as far as the speed stat goes, Mega Delphox is exactly 1 point slower than Fluttermane, Koraidon, Miraidon, and Shen Pao. It has 204 speed right here with a maxed out timid nature, which means this Pokemon can go really fast if it certainly has the ability to have some speed control. And even without speed control, this thing is still a respectable Pokemon. Now, they certainly knew what they were doing by making this thing 1 point slower than Fluttermane as a means of a check and a balance. But I mean, a Psyshock into a Fluttermane, you're getting rid of that thing very, very quickly. And plus, you also resist one of Fluttermane's 2 stabs, and Fluttermane doesn't have a spread ghost option. So Follow Me and Rage Powder support next to this Pokemon could be extraordinarily scary, especially since it's a Psychic-type Pokemon that can go really fast. What's a Psychic-type Pokemon that enables Psychic terrain? Well, that would be Indeedee, obviously. So, I mean, having female Indeedee naturally sets Psychic Surge, and having access to Follow Me, as well as Helping Hand for that matter, means Mega Delphox can potentially do a lot of damage with Expanding Force, so long as it doesn't get the Levitate ability. And because this thing does ride on a broom and float around, I have a very bad feeling that might be the ability this thing gets. But if it doesn't get Levitate, Psychic Terrain and Expanding Force, yes, because to benefit from Psychic Terrain's natural power boost to Psychic type attacks, the user does have to be grounded. So if Mega Delphox gets Levitate, that's not great. But if it does, I mean, a little bit of gravity support goes a long way, because that would also cancel out Levitate, and while you would effectively be losing your ability, that's not the end of the world. But alternatively, Delphox gets access to Skill Swap, so it can swap away its ability. So if Delphox unfortunately gets Levitate as its ability, this thing could Skill Swap with Indeedee, especially if you're worried about Rillaboom coming in. It could, like, Skill Swap with Indeedee, reset the Psychic Terrain by having Psychic Surge reactivate by becoming Delphox's ability, and then it can go for Expanding Force. So that might be okay at the end of the day if Delphox does unfortunately get Levitate versus Psychic Surge itself. And, you know, I think it's kind of a funny idea, but imagine you give Levitate to an Indeedee, and then Indeedee redirects away a Stomping Tantrum. Like, that would be kind of funny, because we have seen an upsurge in Stomping Tantrum on Pokemon like, say, Garchomp and Landorus Therian. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Delphox does get access to Skill Swap, which wouldn't be the end of the world, because it could just potentially just take an ability. And, you know, the other thing too is, if Delphox steals an ability from something that wants to rely on its ability, maybe it even steals, like, say, Sheer Force off of a Sheer Force Life Orb Mon, like, Delphox could naturally benefit its own moves by giving them a power boost at the cost of their secondary effects. So, I mean, that's not the end of the world either. Like, say Delphox runs Heat Wave. and it's Steel Sheer Force. So, I mean, Heat Wave's getting a 33% boost to that base 95 power, and all it's losing is the 10% chance to burn the target. So, I mean, that could be relatively nice for Mega Delphox. Now, what does Mega Delphox have in its kit? Well, let's bring up the special moves. We're not going to touch on physical at all because it's only got 69 attack, and honestly, you're really into some odd things if you're running physical attack on a Mega Delphox for that 69 attack versus the 159 special attack. Like, you might be trying to make things unnecessarily harder for yourself, or just playing a really weird challenge mode. But anyways, as far as special moves go for Delphox, you get Dazzling Gleam for some fairy coverage, you got Expanding Force, you got Fire Blast if you want to absolutely obliterate something, especially if you have gravity support, like similar to what I was talking about Mega Greninja. Like, I mean, you could have Fire Blast just get powered up. You have Flamethrower, you got Focus Blast, which honestly, I think gravity support on a partner Pokemon for Mega Delphox might actually be kind of okay. Yeah, that might be actually kind of okay. And then Mega Delphox can just do a lot of damage with either Focus Blast, just punishing Dark type Pokemon, Fire Blast, just melting Steel types. Yeah, I mean, even Heat Wave, not having to worry about the 90 accuracy, giving up a rare miss. Like, you could have that. Yeah, I think that could be really nice. You do have Grass Knot for some grass type coverage. You have Hex, which, I mean, if your opponent's Pokemon gets a status condition, like, I mean, Hex would double in power, which, I mean, similar to Mega Greninja, like, Mega Delphox would benefit from its opponents being paralyzed and thus ensuring it can outspeed them. And then having Hex double in power, I mean, that could be great. I think Amoonguss could be a really solid partner for this Mega Pokemon as well as Greninja. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, even like if you got a Spore off and put something to sleep and then Hex, that could be great. You got Hyper Voice for some spread normal type damage. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the best move on Mega Delphox, but I mean, I could be wrong. It could be an interesting option. So, yeah, you could potentially have Hyper Voice. You have Overheat if you just want to have a nice single target fire type attack. It's got a little bit better accuracy than Fire Blast, with it being 90 accuracy and a little bit more base power at 130. But the drawback to Overheat is you are going to lower your own special attack 2 stages. So, maybe not the greatest, but I mean, hey, if you stole Contrary, that could be funny. Yeah, that could be really funny. You get Psychic for some single target Psychic type damage. You get Psychic Noise, which can also prevent the target from healing themselves. You have Psyshock to punish physical Pokemon, or rather, especially defensive Pokemon with lower physical defense. So you do have Psyshock to punish them there. You have Scorching Sands, which is some nice special ground type damage, which if Mega Delphox gets a boost into its special attack, like, Scorching Sands could be really great for getting around Fire-type Pokemon, especially Fire-type Pokemon that can take a Psychic type attack no problem, like, say, a Fire-Dark Pokemon, or maybe a Flash Fire Pokemon that went Terra Dark, and the Pokemon that I'm thinking of would be maybe Armarouge or even Ceruledge, whereas they have Flash Fire, and if they go Dark Terra in Champions, I mean, Mega Delphox could just punish them with Scorching Sands. So, yeah, you could do that. You could potentially get a burn in Ceruledge if it drops its fire typing. So, that could be relatively handy. I mean, you also have Shadow Ball, which, I mean, yeah, you could just go for Shadow Ball instead with that consistent Ghost type damage. And then that way, too, you don't really have to mess around with Scorching Sands. So, you do have that. You get Stored Power, which, I mean, Store Power could be kind of funny. Mega Delphox comes in, maybe hits a Calm Mind, gets a boost or two to its special attack and its special defense, and then goes for Store Power. I mean, yeah, that could be okay. As far as what Smogon has deemed as usually useless, you got Blast Bird if you want to just do a lot of damage to something with that base 150 fire type damage. You got the Fire Pledge, which, I mean, Mega Delphox gets a pretty notable speed jump as well. So, I mean, you could maybe set up the Grass and Fire combination, which is the the Flaming Storm, which does a little bit of residual damage similar to Charizard's G-Max Wildfire or Fire Spin. So, I mean, you could have that with Grass Pledge and Fire Pledge working together. Or if you have a slower water type Pokemon, maybe say Primarina, you could have Mega Delphox set up with the Fire Pledge, and then Primarina goes for the Water Pledge to get the Rainbow effect, and then you have the secondary effects increased as well, similar to what I was talking about with Mega Greninja, so maybe you go from there. You get Solar Beam on Mega Delphox too, so maybe instead of going for the Psychic Terrain route, you go for the Sunny Day route and play towards Delphox's fire coverage. You could have the Solar Beam there to punish water type Pokemon that might think they're safe to switch in on Delphox's fire type attacks. So maybe you have Torkoal next to Delphox. Torkoal also gets Helping Hand, by the way. So yeah, maybe Delphox goes for a Solar Beam to hit those bulky water type Pokemon that might think they're safe. So there's that. Maybe you get a ground type Pokemon that thinks they might be able to somehow resist a fire type attack, and then Delphox just goes in for the Solar Beam. Like, I know it doesn't really have the greatest special defense, but I mean, maybe your opponent thinks they're safe with a Rhyperior, since they would have that rock resistance to fire, and then the ground type stab, and then Delphox just goes, and Solar Beam, and just blast them. Or who knows, maybe Eviolite Rhydon comes and thinks they're being a thing, and then Delphox is like, and Solar Beam, and just gets rid of them. So yeah, you can do that. Or maybe, who knows, maybe it's a water rock type Pokemon. Maybe it's G-Max Dreadnought. I don't know why it would be G-Max Chesnaught, but Solar Beam, and just get rid of them that way. So you could do something like that. I think that could be really funny as far as Mega Delphox goes. And then the other thing too is you do have your status moves. I mean, if you wanted to, you could increase Delphox's speed with agility by 2 stages. So while it's not necessarily increasing your damage output, it is increasing your speed output. So maybe you get that redirection setup off. Delphox gets the agility. Now they have the +2 speed working in their favor. And then you just have the Psychic Terrain or Sunny Day working in your favor as well. And then Delphox can go and do some big damage. You could go for Calm Mind and then raise up your special attack and special defense 1 stage each, which, I mean, who knows? Maybe Delphox is just taking special attacks left, right, and center. I mean, Fire Psychic's not the most defensive typing, but I mean, you get bulky enough with that base 125 special defense and 159 special attack working in your favor. You just do so much raw incinerary damage. Yeah, that's right. We're just going to incinerate things with Delphox's moves right there and just go from there. Yeah, you could have that. You could also have Nasty Plot to raise your special attack, because why not? Who says 159 is enough? Maybe you want to double up that special attack by going up 2 stages. Have the Nasty Plot go for some big damage. You could hypothetically Will-O-Wisp something if you wanted to just have that extra little bit of supportive option in Delphox's kit. Maybe you think Expanding Force and Heat Wave or whatever fire type attack of choice you're going for is enough. Maybe you have that Will-O-Wisp just to punish some physical Pokemon. Maybe it's not a safe matchup for Delphox to Mega. Maybe you have a team that has a Mega Pokemon and maybe say a Terastal or Dynamax Pokemon in Champions, depending on how that works out. Maybe you want to have that supportive option and run base Delphox because it's not a good matchup for it. So maybe you have some big, strong counters working in Mega Delphox's, or working against Mega Delphox's favor, and maybe one of your other Pokemon might be a little bit more suited to use your one mechanic. So maybe that's what you have to do. Maybe you have to just say, I'm going to forego Mega Delphox, base Delphox, Will-O-Wisp, let's go, let's land this. Maybe that's what you gotta do. I don't know. That's one thing about Pokemon is you constantly have to adapt to your situation. You can't just commit to the same strategy over and over again and expect it to work every single time. So maybe you do have to do something like that. Now, as far as some other status moves go, I mean, Delphox does get Reflect and Light Screen. I mean, you could rely on that heightened speed. Like 204 speed is nothing to scoff at. Maybe you get up a screen just to help out the team right there. Maybe you have Mega Delphox have that 134 speed. Maybe you have one of the 2 screens and then maybe the other screen on another partner Pokemon, like say maybe Grimmsnarl. Maybe you're running a Grimmsnarl that's only running one singular screen and Delphox has the other, or maybe Grimmsnarl just has both screens and you just want to get them both up at the same time. Maybe you got something like that. And maybe this way too, by having that status move, you're dodging a sucker punch. So, I mean, yeah, if this thing does have levitate, it won't benefit from the anti-priority effect of Psychic Terrain. Like, it'll be immune to that. So maybe you don't want to eat a sucker punch on Delphox. Maybe you go for Reflect on Delphox. Maybe you go for Light Screen on a Grimmsnarl. And then that way too, you just used a status move. You didn't necessarily use an attacking move. Now Sucker Punch is going to fail. So maybe you have that working in your favor. So that could be an interesting hypothetical to consider. And, you know, it even kind of like increases the viability of having a status move in general. Maybe not necessarily a screen. Maybe it could be Will-O-Wisp. Maybe it could be Encore. Maybe it could be a boosting move like Calm Mind, Nasty Plot, or Agility. So maybe something like that could actually help you in the grand scheme of things as far as Mega Delphox goes / regular Delphox. And then a few other things that it gets that are kind of an interesting option. Like you have Charm to lower something's attack stat 2 stages. So like that could be an interesting option. Maybe you have a contrary Pokemon that wants an attack boost and maybe you go for Charm into them. I don't know if you would necessarily want to use your Mega Pokemon to necessarily do that. But I mean, base form, that could be kind of helpful as well. You could have the Confuse Ray, so like it's not really the most reliable condition because just switching will instantly cure that. But I mean, you could have Confuse Ray, you could have Helping Hand to boost up your partner Pokemon's damage output. Maybe you have two really big, prominent, heavy hitters on the field at the same time. Nothing wrong with having one support the other. Maybe you have a big, prominent physical attacker on the field at the same time as Mega Delphox. And maybe you're worried about Delphox going down to a priority move. Maybe you're worried about extreme speed. Maybe you're worried about Sucker Punch. Maybe you just want your physical attacker to do that big damage. Maybe Delphox goes for that +5 priority Helping Hand into its partner Pokemon, and then the partner Pokemon picks off the threat. Like, maybe Chen Pao is on the field. Maybe Chen Pao is only carrying Sucker Punch for some Dark-type coverage, and it wants to set its sights on Mega Delphox. Well, maybe Mega Delphox goes for a Helping Hand into, say, a King Gambit, and then King Gambit Iron Heads the Chen Pao. Maybe that's what you do to get around that, and then Delphox can just turn around and just start going for damage. Maybe that's what it needs to do. Another interesting move is actually going to be Roleplay, because Roleplay will replace the user's ability with the target's, so who knows, maybe there's an ability worth copying that Delphox would rather benefit from. Maybe, say, if this thing does get Levitate, which I cannot stress enough, maybe it's got Roleplay to change its own ability. Maybe you want to change your ability to match your partner Pokemon's. Maybe it's a terrain ability that you want to reset. Maybe it's a move like, say, or not a move, a ability like, say, competitive. Maybe you want to copy competitive, and then your opponent brings in, say, an Intimidator like Incineroar or Scrafty. I mean, because Mega Scrafty's now a thing too, maybe we'll see an upsurge in Scrafty, which is also an Intimidator. Delphox takes an attack drop, and then goes up to +2 because it stole competitive from something. That could be really worthwhile, and then that way too, you don't necessarily have to go for a Nasty Plot. So maybe you have that working in your favor. But yeah, that's kind of really all the notable status moves that I think this thing could get. Oh, Psych Up could be an interesting one too. Yeah, Psych Up could be an interesting move because maybe you copy a Pokemon's stat boosts. Like, say, I don't know, maybe Dondozo. Maybe you copy that. I mean, Dondozo has Unaware, but I mean, if Mega Delphox gets that, and maybe, say, Mega Delphox itself gets Unaware as an ability, see where we're going with this? Like, it would ignore Dondozo's, like, boosts as well. So, like, then when Dondozo gets off the field, maybe Mega Delphox can take those stolen stats and put them to some good use for you and just punish your opponent with them. So, like, maybe you do something like that. But, yeah, I think that could be an interesting idea. As far as some ideas go for Delphox, obviously I would love to see this thing get Psychic Surge. I wouldn't mind seeing Flash Fire either, and then that way too, this thing could benefit from having some fire type attacks. A Prankster Will-O-Wisp user, I almost said fire type attack, but a prankster will-o-wisp user, like say Sableye, could be great next to a flash fire Delphox, and then that way you could just use will-o-wisp to proc your own flash fire, and then heat wave can do so much more damage. Another idea for an ability that I think could be relatively nice, could be competitive, but I mean, I like the idea of just having roleplay on Delphox and then have Delphox just copy that. So, I mean, that wouldn't be too bad, but I mean, if it got competitive, I mean, you wouldn't need to have roleplay, obviously. Um, yeah, I think an interesting thing too is like really whatever Mega Delphox gets as far as abilities go, that's gonna further cement it as a direct upgrade from base Delphox because base Delphox it gets Magician, which requires you to lose your item and then it'll take the item from its target after an attack lands. So I mean, you could hypothetically steal something's item, but Magician is not that great of an ability, and then its other option is Blaze, which is its default starter ability that would increase its fire type attacks by 50% at a third or less of its max HP. So depending on what ability Mega Delphox gets, like it's going to be a great upgrade compared to base Delphox to begin with. Another idea that I would love to see too is if we maybe saw a brand new ability come into play and maybe have it be like a psychic type option and variant of Scrappy. Because here's the thing, before the move Foresight used to exist, and Foresight would allow the user to hit a ghost type Pokemon with normal and fighting type attacks. Then we eventually saw Scrappy come into play, which basically does the same thing but in ability form. There's already a move that used to exist that got purged from Gen 7 to Gen 8, and that is the move Miracle Eye, for those of you who might remember and who might not remember. But basically what Miracle Eye would do is it would allow Dark-type Pokemon to be hit with Psychic-type attacks. If we got a brand new ability that basically incorporates Miracle Eye into Delphox, that could be big. And then that way too, no Dark-type Pokemon is safe from whack, whack, bam, boom, Alakazam expanding force. So yeah, like just imagine Dark-type Pokemon subs in thinking they're safe. Delphox's ability just removes that Psychic-type immunity and bam, bam. Expanding force, or you know, even Psyshock or Psychic, like it could be really nice. And then that way too, if that's a thing too, like Terra Dark Pokemon with Flash Fire aren't gonna outright be immune to Mega Delphox's two stabs. Like Armarouge going Terra Dark, if Delphox had the ability to hit Dark type Pokemon, like it would still be able to hit Armarouge with Psychic type attacks, and Armarouge is more of a physical defensive Pokemon than especially defensive. So yeah, there's that. I mean, then there's Ceruledge, which I mean, Ceruledge with Flash Fire would be safe from fire type attacks, but its defense isn't the greatest. If Mega Delphox was able to just hit Dark type Pokemon with Psychic type damage, it could go for a Psyshock, punish Ceruledge on that side. So there's definitely that. I mean, Incineroar would not love switching in on a hard-hitting Psychic type attack, especially Expanding Force. And I mean, Incineroar's Dark typing makes it naturally a great thing to have if you're worried about dealing with Psy Spam. So I mean, that would really give Psychic type teams like a huge benefit from Mega Delphox having something like that. But yeah, I think I kind of talked long enough about Mega Delphox, and I thought this was going to be quicker because it's just a special attacker. But yeah, just looking at the time, it's about the same length as the Mega Greninja. So, you know, let's move on to Chesnaught before we get too far. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a long one, that's for sure. But anyways, let's move on to Mega Chesnaught. Mega Chesnaught is a Pokemon that I am really giddy about, not just because of its stats, but because of its defensive potential. And plus, I mean, this thing's design. Look at it. It's great. I am excited to see Mega Chesnaught when it comes out. And, you know, it's kind of a shame that we have at least another month-ish before it becomes the reward for the next ranked season on ZA. But Yeah, this Pokemon is going to be fun. As far as Chesnaught's stats go to begin with, like it's got pretty decent HP at 88. 107 attack's not bad. Defense at 122 is really great. This Pokemon gets access to Body Press, it gets access to Belly Drum, it gets Iron Defense, it gets Curse. It's got a lot of means to raise up its offensive and defensive prowess for sure. And the nice thing about Curse is it also makes non-ghost type Pokemon not only get a attack and defense boost, but also a speed drop. And one thing that I am really excited about is that Chesnaught gets access to Gyro Ball, which goes up in power the slower it is than the target. And I mean, you could curse, you could raise up your defense and your attack stat at the same time. You could have body press, you could have spiky shield, which is a great protecting move right there. So like you could potentially have something like this. You could have Leech Seed, you could have Drain Punch. Like Chesnaught already has a really great move kit to begin with. And while its typing is a little bit precarious with what it has access to for weaknesses and resistances. I mean, it's weak to psychic, fairy, fire, ice, and poison while having a 4 times weakness to flying. It does resist dark, rock, water, electric, grass, and ground, all of which are fairly common offensive types. So, like, I mean, it's got a lot working against it, but it's got a lot going for it as far as defensive coverage goes. And Mega Chesnaught goes up in defensive stats as well. Like, you look at this Armored Knight Pokemon and you know it's going to be good. And the other thing, too, is regardless of abilities, if Chesnaught gets to keep Bulletproof, well, Bulletproof is an ability that doesn't really have the most defined description. It protects it from bullet moves. And also, I think it also says bomb moves as well. And basically, a general rule of thumb for remembering which moves kind of like fall in this is ask yourself, does this move include the words bomb or ball or bullet for that matter? And you're fairly safe, but there's still a few moves that Chesnaught would have access to protection against that you wouldn't necessarily think. And like, we'll just jump into Cerebi for a quick second. Like, it's protected from Acid Spray, Aura Sphere, Barrage, Beak Blast, which, I mean, the blast might have been a little bit of a tip off there, but Bullet Seed, Egg Bomb, Electro Ball, Energy Ball, Focus Blast, Gyro Ball, Ice Ball, Magnet Bomb, Mist Ball, Mud Bomb, Octazooka, Pollen Puff, Pyro Ball. I mean, I've gone through a lot of them already, and some of them are pretty obvious, but some of them are not. And then, like, just to go through a few more, like Pollen Puff, for example, like, you might not necessarily think of that right away because it doesn't necessarily come out right and say it. And, I mean, the description for Pollen Puff does say it explodes, so, I mean, makes sense when you think about it. But if you're caught up in the heat of the moment and you don't realize it, like, you might click Pollen Puff thinking like, you know what, it's decent neutral coverage into this thing. Maybe I'll just pick it off, and then Bulletproof just activates. And now you're in a little bit of a problem. Pyro Ball is a really good one that it's immune to, along with Sludge Bomb, because they're super effective against Chesnaught's grass typing, like Sludge Bomb being poison and Pyro Ball being fire. Like, those are great moves to have Bulletproof protect you from. You have Rock Blast and Rock Wrecker, which, I mean, if Chesnaught was in a Terra format and you weren't using the Mega, still a good idea to keep in mind. Shadow Ball is kind of nice because, it's on a lot of Ghost-type Pokemon. And Weather Ball, because so many Pokemon get access to Weather Ball, it's kind of nice to know that Chesnaught has protection against it. So, like, I mean, even if Mega Chesnaught does get to keep Bulletproof, that's not a bad ability to say the least. Now, I think it would be kind of fun to see it get a few different abilities as well. So, I mean, it's certainly not the end of the world if it loses Bulletproof, and it's not the end of the world if it keeps it. I think Bulletproof could be a great ability for Mega Chesnaught. Now, what does Chesnaught get as far as its stats go? Well, we see the attack stat jump from 107 to 137. The defense jumps from 122 to 172. Its special attack stays where it's at. Its special defense jumps to 150 15, which is really, really nice because it was 75 before. So we get an extra 40 points right there. And its speed drops from 64 to 44. And this is why I mentioned Curse and Gyro Ball to begin with. Mega Chesnaught is now getting slower, naturally, meaning Gyro Ball is going to go up in power. Now, if you have access to Curse on top of that, Mega Chestnaught's increasing its defense, its attack, lowering its speed, meaning Gyro Ball is going to go up in two different senses from its power output, because not only is Chesnaught getting slower, therefore the base power is naturally going to likely increase against its target, but also its attack stat is going to increase as well. Now, Mega Greninja and Mega Delphox were both really straightforward. They're really fast Pokemon, and regardless of which attack stat you're using, both of them are going to be able to hit really hard. In Greninja's case, like a Nasty Plot special attack or Swords Dance boosted attack, they'll still do really hard. In Delphox's case, that raw 159 special attack, whether it's boosted up by Psychic Terrain or Sunny Day, like, they're going to go really hard. But here with Mega Chesnaught, now it's kind of a little bit interesting as far as what you want to do EV-wise. Do you want to just increase your defensive stats and your HP, play towards a body press set or a curse set? Do you want to increase just your attack and just go from there? Maybe you want to run Belly Drum. Maybe you want to have Drain Punch. Like, Belly Drum, Drain Punch would be really hard. Chesnaught also gets access to Grassy Glide, which means it has priority, which means it doesn't have to necessarily rely on having some speed investment at all. Like, maybe you pair this thing with Rillaboom, like what we've seen in Scarlet and Violet. Mega Chesnaught having Grassy Glide and Belly Drum and Drain Punch could be funny. It could be really awesome with its attack and HP working in tandem with its naturally good defenses. 115 special defense is a huge glow up for this thing's stats right here. And it's one of those Pokemon where we do see a stat get lowered so that we see more than 100 base points kind of be factored into the reworking of the stat structure, which is really nice because, like, we get a 30% boost, or not a 30%, a 30-point boost to its attack. We get a 50-point boost to its defense, and then we get a 40-point boost to its special defense. So taking that 20 points out of speed is where the extra 20 points come for the special defense numbers. So, like, that's really nice. And maybe what we see is, maybe we see something like max HP investment brings you up to 195. Maybe we have the special defense go up to maybe say 150. Maybe we have a bold nature, which puts us up to 211, which that should be really notable because Mega Delphox's special attack maxes out at 211 on a neutral nature. So, like, before any investment, we're already at 211. Like, that's really nice. Also, I hit bold. I meant to hit impish. I'm just realizing that now because we don't want to lower our attack. Maybe what we do is maybe we just use the impish nature and then invest the rest into our attack. And now maybe we say have Curse to get slower. We have Spiky Shield to protect ourselves. Maybe we have the Body Press for the fighting type coverage. And then we have Gyro Ball. And outside of, like, 4 times weakness flying type attacks hitting this thing, like, Mega Chestnaught's going to have some pretty decent odds of living attacks, even on the special front. Like, you got some pretty decent bulk there. You get a light screen next to this thing. This thing's going to be taking that relatively nicely. The defense is going to go up naturally from Curse, but maybe you don't do something like this. Maybe what you see here is an Adamant Nature, which also 140 with an Adamant Nature brings you up to 192, which is where your defense is naturally at anyways. Maybe we just take a little bit less investment into the special defense to invest into the attack. We hit our EV bump where we go... No, that's not an EV bump. But anyways, we just hit 194. I'm so used to 156 with a beneficial nature typically being the EV bump. So yeah, a little bit of a weird point. But anyways, point is, we hit some nice numbers right there with the 156. Like, we get the Curse up right there. We get a 50% boost to our attack and defense. They're going to be around a similar benchmark. And I'm just going to pull up the calculator right quick just to see where we are numbers wise. So like 194 getting a 50% boost, it's going to jump up to 291, which is wild. You don't necessarily need much more attack than that. I mean, unless you're worried about Intimidate, which honestly, yeah, Intimidate might be a way to keep this thing in line. But I mean, at the same time, if you're on a belly drum grassy glide, like that could be fun. So maybe something like that. As far as the defense goes, at 192, getting that 50% boost, you're at 288. Like 288 for calculating off of your body press, which is stab, by the way, that's going to do a lot of damage, like even without any investment. But maybe what we see here is maybe instead of say curse, maybe we see grassy glide here. Maybe we take Gyro Ball out. Maybe we have that belly drum. Get to +6. A Rillaboom comes on the field. Now you have priority grass type stab damage. Like even with Grassy Glide being reduced from 70 to 55 from Gen 8 to Gen 9, like I mean that's going to be doing a lot of damage. And alternatively too, if you don't want that and have to be reliant on Grassy Terrain, you have Woodhammer, which I mean Woodhammer would absolutely just pound something into the ground. Like it might just pop up it might just pop up out of a hole a few days later. So like, yeah, that might happen if this thing just gets a belly drum and then a wood hammer off. Maybe you do play more towards the body press route. Maybe we go back to that impish nature. Maybe we have more special defense and some defense investment. Maybe instead of belly drum, maybe we see iron defense because Chesnaught does get that. Maybe we see iron defense body press. Maybe we see a more defensive idea. Maybe we see leech seed. You get a little bit of passive recovery, and sure, you might not be doing anything to ghost types with body press, but I mean, leech seed would wear them down. If it's a ghost type that has Terra and they Terra away from their ghost typing, well, that's a thing. That's definitely not going to be doing them any favors. But you know, another thing too is maybe it's not iron defense. Maybe it's wide guard. Maybe you're just blocking spread moves. Maybe you have that. Maybe you have the spiky shield. Anything looking to do physical contact is going to take a little bit of recoil from the spiky shield. Like contact will do an eighth of the target's max HP with spiky shield. Maybe it's something like that. And maybe you have a really annoying defensive wall right here that you might want to burn. And then that way too, you're kind of canceling out the leech seed recovery. Maybe you have something like that for Mega Chesnaught to try to get around it, because I feel like if this Pokemon gets set up, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with. So like, yeah, you have something like that. As I mentioned, it gets Drain Punch, so it does have sustainability. Maybe you're not playing Body Press. Maybe you're playing Drain Punch. Maybe they take Body Press away from this thing, which honestly, as good as I think Body Press would be, I could see them removing Body Press to try to balance it. Like that could be a thing potentially. I don't know. I would love to see it keep Body Press, but I mean, if it does lose Body Press and it just has those high defensive numbers, I mean, that's not bad at the end of the day either. Like you could play the defensive Leech Seed style set as well. I'm also noticing too that Chesnaught gets Dragon Claw, which, yeah, that's not a move that I was really expecting to see. But I mean, hey, yeah, it's got some interesting physical moves, that's for sure. It also gets access to close combat, which I mean, close combat would be great because similar to what I said about Woodhammer, like imagine you're playing close combat instead of Woodhammer and you have Belly Drum, or maybe you don't have Body Press. Maybe you want that raw 120 base power. Maybe it's Belly Drum, Grassy Glide, close combat. Maybe you have that. Maybe you're doing big damage with this thing. That could be for sure. Let's actually pull up some physical moves right here just to see what Chesnaught gets access to. And of course, there's Body Press right at number 1 here. But I mean, you get close combat, which is notable. You get Crunch to hit ghost type Pokemon. So maybe you are playing Body Press. Maybe instead of Gyro Ball, maybe Crunch is your coverage move. And then that way too, you hit the ghost types for massive damage. And technically you do a spiky shield. So there's a grass type option right there if you feel weird about not having a move that matches your typing. So like you have Spiky Shield as a defensive option. As I just mentioned, we got Dragon Claw, we got Double Edge, which I mean, Double Edge I don't think is going to be the greatest move on this thing because of the recoil, but I mean, it's there. It's high base power with 120 normal type damage, so there's that. We have Earthquake. If you're not playing with grassy terrain, I mean, Earthquake is certainly a good option to hit a lot of Pokemon. You would hit fire types, you'd hit steel types, you would hit poison types, all of which would resist grass type damage. So, like, they wouldn't love it. I mean, technically, you do have the fighting type coverage to hit steel types, but I mean, poison and fire certainly wouldn't love it. So, you do have that. You have more steel type coverage to keep in mind, or rather, the steel type coverage to keep in mind because of Gyro Ball, because of how slow this thing naturally is. You get Hammer Arm, which can make yourself even slower with some fighting type damage to keep in mind. If you don't necessarily want to do body press or can't, or close combat for that matter, maybe you want to get slower. And I mean, Hammer Arm is only 20 power less than close combat, so there's that. You have high horsepower, so if you want that ground type coverage without having grassy terrain lower your output compared to Earthquake, you do have a high horsepower. And now I should say, if you want to consider more steel type coverage, you got Iron Head, so you do have that. You have Knockoff for some more dark type coverage right here. You can also slap away some items. You got Poison Jab for other grass type Pokemon. You have Shadow Claw for some ghosts with some decent crit boosted goodness right there. So you do have that. You got Stone Edge for the flying types. You got Super Fang to cut something's HP in half. So like you got that. Chesnaught really gets a little bit of everything. It gets Thunder Punch, which I didn't know. And honestly, that's a scary thing to know that Chesnaught gets Thunder Punch because, I mean, not that it really matters so much in VGC, but I mean, in Pokemon Go, Thunder Punch is kind of nice because it's spammy. So, I mean, yeah, just for any of the Go fans out there that play both Go and VGC, I mean, this thing could get Thunder Punch. Maybe we see that in another move update. Editing Shucko here again. I just wanted to point this out because I got curious and I did a little bit of looking while I was reviewing the footage. Guess what Chesnaught also gets in Go? That's right. Thunder Punch. It really does get a little bit of everything in every game. But yeah, fun food for thought. Chesnaught also gets Thunder Punch already. So yeah, flyers beware. That's it for me. Yeah, that's kind of gross. Oh, you get Zen Headbutt as well, so you get some Psychic type coverage to hit fighting types. So yeah, you get that. Under what Smogon deems is usually useless. Let's see. I mean, there's Grassy Glide, which I mean, in doubles that could be funny. You get Bullet Seed, which I don't think it's actually going to be great on Mega Chesnaught because you don't get access to loaded dice, but you do get that for base Chesnaught if you want to throw some people for a loop. Similarly enough, you get Pin Missile. But hey, yeah, you get some interesting stuff there. You get Stomping Tantrum, so I mean, if a move fails and then Stomping Tantrum doubles in power, like you do have that for some boosted damage. You get Reversal, so who knows? Maybe you take a hard enough hit, you lose a lot of HP, and then you have that Reversal as your big Hail Mary. Maybe Trick Room is up, and maybe you have that Reversal, which increases more in power the lower your HP is. So, like, you could have that. But, I mean, the other thing, too, which I feel like I didn't really cover a whole lot on, is with Curse and Hammer Arm making you slower, like, this thing can be an absolute unit in Trick Room. And imagine, you get super slow, and then you have that Gyro Ball that can just naturally outspeed a lot of things in Trick Room. Like, you could punish a lot of Pokemon. Like, base 44 speed is also notable because if Trick Room goes up, you're outspeeding the likes of Calyrex Ice Rider, Iron Hands, both Ursalunas. Like, those are 4 Pokemon right there that are really good to be able to outspeed. You're also outspeeding the likes of, say, Rillaboom and Incineroar if Trick Room is up. Like, Rillaboom is a little bit on the faster side to begin with, so, like, Rillaboom doesn't really love the idea of Trick Room, but, I mean, if you get a Trick Room up and your opponent has it, like, you're outspeeding them unless they're going for Grassy Glide. And Incineroar, too. Like, Incineroar at base 60 speed, it can kind of thrive outside of and inside a Trick Room. So having a faster body press, which wouldn't be impeded by Intimidate, could be another thing as well. So yeah, you certainly have that as an option to keep in mind. And then, as I was saying when we started on about Mega Chestnut, you have Bulletproof as a potential ability. As far as some other abilities go, for once, this is one of the fighting type Pokemon that I don't really care if it gets scrappy or not. Like, I would love to see Mega Phalanx get it, but I don't really care about Mega Chestnut getting it because I think Stamina could be stupidly good on this thing, seeing as Chestnut would get a defense boost every time it gets hit. Like, imagine beat up strats or say loaded dice strats where you're just hitting your own Chestnut, getting a defense boost each time. Like, sure, you got a lot more weaknesses with the combination of grass and fighting compared to something like, say, Archaludon, which is steel and dragon. But I mean, getting up those defense boosts, like, I don't think a lot of physical hits are going to be denting this thing with that massive 172 defense stat. Now, maybe it won't get stamina because of how good its defense is to begin with, but I would certainly love to see it. I mean, Guts would be a really nice ability to see here since Mega Chestnut wouldn't care about taking wouldn't care about taking a status move and getting a condition from it. Like, this thing is a wild juggernaut of an armored knight. Like, imagine you think you're slowing this thing down with a burn, it gets the guts boost, and now its attacks are doing even more damage. Sure, it's taking a little bit of residual damage itself from the burn, but I mean, imagine it gets Leech Seed up, it gets burned, it's a Gutsmon. That could be absolutely wild. Let's see, what else? Bulletproof, stamina, guts. Those are all great abilities, but Defiant would be absolutely insane as well because like Chestnut would just get a +2 attack. So like Chestnut having Defiant could be nice. One thing that I could see being a really bad thing, kind of similar to what I was talking about with Delphox getting Levitate, one thing that I could see Chestnut getting as far as an ability goes that would work against it would be Stall, which is an ability that makes the user go last. Like, unless Chestnut's going for, like, say, something like, say, Revenge or Avalanche, which I don't think it gets either move, I don't think that's a good ability. Like, yeah, I mean, that could be something I could just see them being like, you know, this awesome Pokemon with awesome stats, here's how we're going to balance it. Stall, which is not great, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe we see something like that. Maybe the ability actually kind of impedes this thing a bit, which I wouldn't really love that. But yeah. I think that could be a relatively nice. Oh, another one that I think could be really nice on Mega Chestnut would be Sap Sipper. And you wouldn't really think grass type attacks are going to be hitting this thing and going for it, but I mean, imagine you switch Sap Sipper Mega Chestnut in on a spore like a spore target. That might work. I don't know, because grass types are immune to powder moves like spore, so I don't know how that would necessarily work, but I mean, that might be interesting. Oh, the most blatant one, Battle Armor. Battle Armor would be an ability that I could see on this thing. It blocks critical hits, and that's it. How fitting would it be? Because this thing it's armored. It's literally an armored knight. This thing getting battle armor would be pretty on the nose, but I mean, it would work. Like, imagine curse boosts, iron defense boosts, no guaranteed critical hits working against it, no critical hits in general working against it. That would be scary. I mean, most iron defense body press mons that work, or, well, I say most, but I'm thinking of Hisui and Gudra. Like, that's what makes Hisui and Gudra so scary, because it gets shell armor, which is the same thing. So, like, battle armor on Mega Chestnut could be really scary, and I think that would be amazing. Thick Fat could be a fun defensive ability, too, because, having resisted fire and ice damage into this thing, that could be great. And then one last idea, too, because apparently I'm just following them on the spot for Mega Chestnut. Poison Heal. It's a signature ability for Gliscor. But I could see that being a funny way of spiting people thinking that they can just get around this thing with Toxic. And then that way Mega Chestnut just heals instead of taking damage from poison. So, like, yeah, that could be fun. But, yeah. I think that's where we're going to leave it there. We have certainly talked a lot for each of these 3 mega Pokemon. Realistically, this should have been one video or 3 separate videos, but I decided that because I've been gone for over a week, we're gonna make a super big one. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you think about all 3 of these brand new mega Kalos starters. Are you excited to see what they can do once their abilities are made known, once Pokemon Champions comes around? I am certainly excited to see what they can do, and let me know if you agree with some of these abilities that I speculated on. Let me know if you think I'm on the right track or if I'm on the completely wrong track. I would definitely love to hear some feedback for you on this. I think all 3 of these Pokemon look fantastic, and I am excited to see what they can do. Anyways, if you made it this far to the end of the video, thank you so much for listening to my yap session about these 3 mega Pokemon. And also thank you once again to NordVPN for partnering with me for today's video. Be sure to check them out using my code SHUCKO to get a 70+% discount off on a 2-year plan plus a few bonus months. Anyways, you've been awesome. See you later.